Greetings. This is Red Cynic's show. We are looking for absurd and nonsense where they are present, and where, according to common opinion, they can't exist. I think I'll start from afar. For a few years already, we are reviewing movies, and because of this, receiving a big variety of feedback. Positive, and not so much. In addition, the main argument of opposers of our creations appear to be outright statements about how pieces of art shouldn't be taken seriously. Saying that everything there is for fun, fictional. And this means that no matter what kind of idiocy it will have, it won't cause any real harm. However, these comrades simply refuse to understand that movie making is not only entertainment, but also an art form, and this means that like any other art form, it's one of the most powerful tools to influence people. And it is much more crafty effective than lectures or TV preaching. Why? Well, because under the guise of a spectacle, through fascination, certain ideas are pushed to people's brains. And those ideas are settling in people's brains and accumulating, forming view of the world, and integrating into their purview. No, this time we won't touch the power of love. Love is tangible quantity. It's a force. Instead, let us talk about propaganda. Take Serbs, as an example. Literally in a few years, they made miserable scum out of them, comparing to which, Morlocks look like innocent little kids. Where this fame has come from the same exact place, from the movies. And it's totally unimportant that the biggest part of them are worst possible trash. It's enough to penetrate brains from time to time, and an average person will form a creepy image of a country, and of people who live there. Serbs have captured an Albanian village. They are killing everyone. Serbs don't like Bosnians. But of course Serbs were not the first. First was Soviet Union. And all this started from this dude. And he was flaming so successfully that almost the whole so-called civilized Europe gave him a hand in exterminating Russian subhumans. Although, it didn't work too well, did it? Microphone dropped by Dead Meat Goebbels was picked up by totally different people. And although they did share the same ideas, they liked the taste of his methods very much. And this means that appearance of star-striped cheese genre was just a matter of time. So then, let us take a look at a notorious representative of this category. Movie of 1988, Rambo 3. The movie starts in Thailand, where Troutman, a former John's superior, and Boddicker, from RoboCop, are trying to find John Rambo. And where do you think the pride and glory of Green Berets, who was whacking Vietnamese almost by hundreds in the previous movie? Well, as we can remember, John does not trust politicians, he is tired of war, and generally, a part of me died. Probably because of this in particular, under cheerful squealing of locals, he is fighting another white guy. Action? Well, back in the day this might looked cool. However, thanks to one famous movie, nobody can possibly take this scene seriously. Although, Rambo is breaking faces only during his free time. But naturally, he is living at a Buddhist monastery, apparently while restoring sacred shrines, destroyed by evil Vietcongs. You won't forget me? No. So he is found exactly there by Boddicker and Troutman. What do they want? Well, first, Boddicker, allegedly by chance, is asking Rambo about Afghanistan. I don't know how much you know about Afghanistan. Most people can't even find it on a map. Really? And in the abominable Soviet school, only a complete moron is unable to find Afghanistan on a map. After that, Boddicker shows some photos of wounded children, while narrating about use of chemical weapons, and suddenly makes a crafty move. But over 2 million civilians, mostly peasant farmers and their families, has been systematically slaughtered by invading Russian armies. Yes, it's exactly like this. Without any hesitation, the viewers are hit with the horrifying truth, right in their faces. It turns out that Soviets came to Afghanistan not to strengthen this secular republic, which, oh the terror, was oriented towards USSR, but to deliberately perform genocide of local population, and, as we'll find out later, be engaged in whacking children and hunting for pregnant women for sport. What for? This is done, so they will not have to fight the next generation of Afghans. Well, this is a traditional Russian amusement, kill a baby, so a day won't go wasted. Yet nobody sees anything, or reads anything in the papers. Strange. Because in the second Rambo movie, photos of mutilated children were not shown for some reason, never talked about millions of killed Vietnamese, and somehow forgot to mention napalm. By the way, regarding chemical weapons, despite numerous statements about its use by the Soviet Army, there were no any evidence provided, which in the light of recent events, and nothing surprises anymore. Every new weapon, including chemical warfare, is being used to eliminate these people. Yes, this is exactly how propaganda works, where our hands are soaked in blood to our elbows, we'll modestly hush up, but where our opponent is fighting, add plenty of sauce in this abomination salad. So what does Boddicker wants from Rambo? Well, at least not murder of RoboCop. He is all yours. It turns out that the free and democratic world, through hands of CIA and MI6, arranged deliveries of Stinger missiles, so Mujahideen could shoot down Nork's helicopters.
Facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire. They are the focus of evil in the
and crafty ELFs have stupid bastards from Brodder wrapped around their little fingers, everywhere. Except for one place, where the wicked Nazgul has entrenched. Apparently, the Soviet commander there is exceptionally brutal. Trautman, who never even thought of saving captured American soldiers personally in the second movie, is now ready to rush to help democratic Mujahideen. And I want you to come with me, John. But John states that he is done with war and all that. My war is over. Trautman tries to convince him otherwise. You'll always tear away at yourself until you come to terms with what you are. We didn't make you this fighting machine. Interesting statement, considering the ending of the first movie, don't you think? My friend is all over me. I'm trying to pick him, and, well, the second too. How are you going to live, John? Day by day. But an old bird is not caught with chaff, so these uninvited guests have to sail off empty-handed. Some time passes. John is idling on a roof, while Trautman is already in Afghanistan, helping Dushmans. Supposed to be helping anyway. But as for now, they are just driving through night mountains, lighted by God knows what. It's from their car's headlights. Possible. But car headlights are seen from miles away. And they were supposed to drive through unnoticed, I believe. What? Not anymore? What should a person do in this situation, if he doesn't want to be found? Correct. Go off the road, and disguise himself in the environment. And, well, turn off the headlights, of course. But no. Dushmans and American pros are gonna sit on their asses until a helicopter is a few feet away from them. Drop your weapons. You have no chance of escape. Hey, and how about? They are fighting in the heat of the war, and after completing their mission, dissolving in the environment. Boddicker, being a kind CIA soul, immediately runs to Rambo with the good news. What you doing about it? I can't do anything about it, man, where all this naivety comes from in this death machine. Anyways, John decides to take things in his own hands, and after a while, appears in Pakistan. You would think that he is disguising himself as a local, and all that? Nope. Rambo, impudently, and without hiding, goes to Mouse's shop, a local guy, who's trading weapons and artificial limbs. Unusual combination, no doubt. But generally, this is also a part of propaganda. Allegedly, Soviet orcs have scattered around so many landmines that many people get crippled. The most interesting thing in this situation, that during the whole extent of the previous movie, nobody even mentioned about 350,000 tons of unexploded landmines are still laying in Vietnamese soil. About the fact that 42,000 people have lost their lives, and 62,000 became disabled, after the war, because of landmines in particular. But why should viewers know this, right? Vicious Soviets, on the other hand. It's like, let us tell you how these non-humans disembowel all Afghans they meet, and then, while laughing malevolently, licking their bloody blades. During thoughtful conversation. What are you? Lost tourist? I'm no tourist. It turns out that Boddiker's people are coming quite often, and mostly. You are not military, you are not mercenary, and this is in the actual movie. This means that the West was helping Mujahideen already back then, without ever hiding it, or being embarrassed by it, with weapons, soldiers, instructors, bases, ammo, and all the rest. And while heads of the cursed Shiravi were being cut off, the whole civilized world was perfectly fine with it. But as soon as heads of the so-called Golden Billion started be guillotined, they immediately declared war against terrorism. The task of this mission is to capture and kill Ahmad Shah. Bastard. However, let's return to our dumbwits. It turns out that our guide knows nothing about types of people. You not look like you are with military. Yeah, well, John does look like a hippie a little, but doesn't he look to you like a marine at all? Or a wild goose? No. Fine. Mousa is genuinely surprised, but he still agrees to guide Rambo through secret paths. And while John is packing his shit, an outpost of Russian bloodsuckers is shown to us. And just look at these beauties. And this one, the one with a condom on his head, obviously a dwarf ogre. But battle-tried Troutman is not scared of these monsters one bit. He immediately starts to demand his rights. If I'm gonna be interrogated, I wanna be interrogated by your superiors. Oh, don't you want some girls and vodka with red caviar while you at it? You sure? Certain? Fine. The evil Nazgul was about to share some info, but Troutman has already started. You talk peace and disarmament to the world, and here you are wiping out a race of people. Aw, how cute. And how about North Korea or Vietnam? Aren't they people? Aren't they population? Every day your war machine is losing ground to a bunch of poorly armed, poorly equipped freedom fighters. Actually, the number of Mujahideen was tens, if not hundreds, of thousands. And they were helped by a bunch of countries, including USA, Great Britain, and France. And, to put it simpler, moans about shameful stampede of legions of Russian soldiers are a little over-exaggerated. Unlike Americans in Vietnam, Soviets have completed all tasks set for them, in full capacity, no matter what Mr. Bondarchuk is saying there. We didn't even know that in this huge army's withdrawal turmoil, they simply forgot about us. If you'd studied your history, you would know that these people have never given up to anyone. And you studied? Then why did you enter Afghanistan in 2001? Because of how smart you are? And, well, since you started talking about history, let us look into it. And it suddenly turned out that Afghanistan was owned by anyone who wasn't lazy enough. You might ask, then why all these inspirational speeches about bunch of people, recalcitrants, and the rest of blah blah blah, again, for propaganda? It's obvious, if 100 or so Dushmans can resist hordes of orcs, then the first must be heroes, without a doubt, and the latter, vile scumbags, who can't conduct warfare. The latter has extra importance, because this way, an average American citizen, who has no clue where Afghanistan is located, is gonna sleep better. Anyway, the Red Ghoul starts to lose his patience. And this is understandable. Such brain blockade like Troutman's is impossible to penetrate even with howitzer. Beastly Bouncer is throwing a halter on our unbreakable fire for democracy, and drags him into subsoils of Brodder. Meanwhile, Rambo and Mousa are writing, and writing, and writing, and writing, while viewers are continuously pumped with political information. Alexander the Great tried to conquer this country, then Genghis Khan, then the British. Oh, would you look at that? He must have PhD in historical sciences. The reality, however, disprove his words a little. Alexander the Great indeed wanted to conquer Afghanistan. And he did conquered it. Genghis Khan? You might be surprised, but he also conquered the biggest part of Afghanistan, and whatever he did not have enough time to grab by himself, his descendants did. English. They were acting like they owned the place for the whole 80 years. In the ancient days the Afghan king was asked, what king? What ancient days? The first monarch in Afghanistan appeared in 1929. In Ork's outpost, Soviet Nazgul was occupied with his favorite activity, that is, torture. Where in my sector are the missiles being delivered? Our shining elf keeps it together, even have time to make jokes. Like, look, you dupes, how unbreakable American officer is. But as soon as Nazgul prepares to initiate the second stage of interrogation, when some dickhead bursts in the torture chamber, Well, you look at the kind of exemplary subordination these pigs have. And why was the ghoul distracted from his favorite hobby? Remember the huckster with mustache from Pakistani shop? So then, this abominable freak, who seems to arrived here on a rocket or something, turned out to be a traitor. Why on a rocket? Well, because while our heroes are going through secret paths, this pretty boy outrun them, easily crossed the border, reached the needed outpost, and arranged a meeting with the head bloodsucker, who understands his language, in addition. Well, would you look at this screw-up from screenwriter's side? This means what now? That Russian orcs can learn a foreign language, and, well, while the disgusting huckster is spewing the whole background of John, including boots size, and sexual preferences, we are stunned by badness of American secrecy system. What is your name? John Rambo. Nazgul is attacking Troutman, but he continues to remain silent like a fish. He is being tortured, but not very zealously. Although, logically, these hellish non-humans, as the Soviets are portrayed in the movie, in 1 hour of torture, should have 10 times boiled the American in oil, shoot 100 times, dismember 1,000 times, and dissolve in acid 1,000,000 times. But hey, don't be surprised. Troutman is still gonna need to escape on foot. That's why he must be in good shape, and so this is why bloodsuckers are torturing him so tenderly. After threatening the American with a product of gloomy genius of Oradruin weapon makers, nasty Nazgul runs to meet guests personally. Oh, and they have already arrived. Mouse drags Rambo to the infirmary, to show how proletarian bastards are amusing themselves in their free of murders, rapes, and Satanist rites. Time. More gifts from the Soviets. They look like toys, but they are mines. And while we are stunned by the whole enormity of this filthy lies, authors are trying to sweeten the pill. Deserter? He calls himself a defector. There are many like him, saying that not all Russians are freaks and scoundrels, but only the most faithful to socialist ideals. This way, dirty capitalist boots are trying to trample the bright term in the mud because everyone must get in their heads that socialism is not freedom, equality and social justice, but disemboweling children with bayonets. And while Russian Deserter is narrating to local elders about inaccessibility of Broader, they are astonished by Rambo's badness. I go alone. The viewers are continued to feed with horrifying truth. We are determined not to be driven from our land. To us, death for our land and God is an honor. Along with this, nobody even mentions that the current war is only a brief page of the history, in which some Afghans are stubbornly slaughtering other Afghans. In this case, religious fighters for freedom are trying to suppress Democratic Republic of Afghanistan. And along with it, equal rights for men and women, secularity, multi-party system, etc., etc. In addition, they must no matter what prevent Shiravi from building hospitals, schools, houses, and electrify the country. What for? Who knows? But Uncle Sam won't give any malicious advice. No way. Pregnant women were cut with bayonets, and their babies thrown into the fires. I think the screenwriters didn't push far enough. Not far enough. For more credibility, they should have added penal battalions of rapists, canteens with mujahideen roasts, and huge automatic meat grinders, where squealing Afghan children are thrown. Tender burgers for Central Committee of CPSU. This is done so they will not have to fight the next generation of Afghans. Oh, yeah, to take revenge on, probably Germans, who were trying to exterminate the Russian nation. Soviets are trying to exterminate the whole Afghan nation. Some logic. Leave us now. While devouring tons of this verbal shit, Rambo notices local athletes. And those are playing the national sport, dragging Sansa Starkus across the field. As you wish, my lord. John is suggested to participate, and as soon as he is about to score, vicious orcs appear, on trademark Soviet helicopters. Yes, yes, French-made gazelles and pumas. But generally, what bastards? Didn't let us push around Sansa Stark a little. Mordor's bandlings are starting systematic extermination of local population. And to show the whole level of atrocities of Russian bloodsuckers, a whole platoon of women and children are brought to the field, and told to run in formation, because it's easier to eliminate everyone with only one missile. Brave tough guys are shooting at iron birds but uselessly, for only John is capable of saving the situation. Yeah, the chopper detonated just like that. Cowardly Nazgul, instead of taking revenge by exterminating everyone who left alive, shamefully runs away like a little bitch. The female inside Rambo is starting to cry. This is not your war. It is now. And now, Black Fortress again. Nazgul is threatening to torture our Jedi to death. But things still don't go very far in terms of physical harm. What about John? He is already nearby, pretending to crawl through minefields. Would you look at this affectation? Rambo is checking a line of ground, maximum 8 inches wide, while width of his shoulders is at least 6 times bigger. Green beret, yeah. But then, searchlight beam is already near, and 2 people are hiding behind a huge stone, which was deliberately left there by dumb Soviet orcs, so someone could hide behind it. In reality, all access points to such hideouts were strenuously mined. This means that whatever is shown in the movie is clearly a cheat. Well, how else can you perceive this? What? Exclusively blind people are put on watchtowers. 2 idiots on the ground can be seen even without searchlights. Mousa appears to be a complete moron, and only praised Rambo's reflexes saves his life. But finally, everything is turning into a circus with appearance of an underage Dutchman, who is rushing to slaughter Russian bloodsuckers. I want to fight. Next, Rambo is sneaking into the fortress. Well, sneaking how? He bends a teeny tiny wire that locks gates to the broad dirt. Everything like in reality, yeah. Insides of it is full of life even at night. Red orcs are torturing someone 3 shifts a day. John starts to demonstrate miracles in stealthiness, installing explosives right under working light bulbs. But this is still nothing. In a couple of minutes, Rambo is gonna run around well-lit square, but nobody will still be able to notice him. Yes, goddammit, even dogs can't smell a sweaty guy from 3 meters distance. What next? Next, very conveniently, a tank appears. Rambo grabs onto it, and successfully penetrates the insides. Naturally, invisible, again. No, he is of course shining in searchlights, and noticeable even with -7 vision, but he's still invisible. The aura drew in insights is literally like hell. People are being shot, electrocuted, and fried with flamethrowers. Strangely enough, they are not blowing their noses into star-striped banner and not trolling gays, because then, negative effect would be even stronger. John knocks out the guard, and even has enough time to find Troutman, but a red orc, appeared out of nowhere, is ruining everything. Immediately, a crafty Jedi plan is set in motion. Remember explosives with blocks? So, they detonate. It doesn't matter that almost on every charge, 10-minute timer was set, and charges were put as he was getting inside. They are exploding basically simultaneously. Hundreds of red orcs are getting up after alarm is sounded, but they better remained in their beds. Rambo starts to mow them, squad by squad. Naturally, without aiming and reloading. And what for? Since brave Soviet fighters behaving like crippled morons. And dying. I must say, that for the first time I saw this episode when I was a little kid. It was playing on VHS tape at a fellow serviceman of my father, a political department commander assistant no less. I remember I had a feeling of deep indignation. I asked my father, "Dad, are they Russians? Why is this skunk killing them by dozens, and they can't even hit him, because this is total rubbish. Mockery. They would have made mincemeat out of him by now." But my father laughed, and said, "This is all for fun. It's not real. It's just a movie." And after 1 year, Soviet Union collapsed. So, yes, I have a grudge against this Hollywood turd since my childhood. And meanwhile, Soviet Nazgul did the horrifying. He wounded the underage Mujahideen. Oh, what a sadist. It's time to moan. It's just a kid. We must not shoot at children with weapons in their hands. Better let them kill us. And like this wasn't enough, a beast-like bouncer, with a rifle with barrel-attached grenade launcher, appeared, and oh horrors, seriously wounded John. Although, this does not prevent Rambo from shouldering the kid, and while shooting back at enemies coming towards him, run around the area like an antelope. And everything ends, like usual, with a sewer. A novel of a Russian writer that has more than 500 characters, and it is taking place during Napoleon War and Peace. There are no locks, no mine traps, or any other traps, of course. And only John himself thought of setting explosive charges. Anyway, bloodsuckers once again are humiliated, like this wicked Soviet great. And, you wouldn't believe it, but while that exact Soviet face literally turns itself inside out. right here, 80 feet from fortress walls, under the light of dozens of searchlights, unopened from all directions area, a local cab is waiting for Rambo and co. But, I think it's a bit weak. They should have brought horses right next to Troutman's cell, for better authenticity. Anyways, our heroes are catching their rides and get out of there. No, they do try to shoot at them, one guy. And not too zealously either. What about Nazgul? Well, he's standing literally 10 feet away, and with hashed eyes yelling that the fugitives have disappeared, and unknown where. At sunrise I will hunt him down and have his skin hanging on the wall. But our brave American officer already senses proletarian weakness, and starts to scare in return. You don't have to hunt him. What? He'll find you. Indeed. After sending Mousa with wounded kid to general direction of artificial limbs shop, Rambo is planning to return to Brodeur. But first he must patch himself up. But oh no, Afghanistan, as we remember, has huge shortage of bandages. That's why people are treating their wounds in any way they can. We must close it with clay as better as possible. But John decides to burn the hole. Can you possibly do it? Well, if you don't have any other choice, then you may attempt, although chances for success are little. But, let us pretend that Rambo doesn't have any other choice. So, what is he doing? Well, puts gunpowder right into bloody spot. Obviously a pro. Yeah, so obvious. And how about wet gunpowder not being able to burn? You gotta put a whole glass of it in this wound to have something dry left. Whatever, man. And now John is bringing burning stick close to himself. And, pay close attention. The fire, despite wet tissue, blows through the wound like winds through canyons. What you've been smoking there, creators? The main attraction of Afghanistan? And while orcs are combing the desert, Rambo moves his queen. He is climbing a steep cliff to the Black Fortress. Wound? What wound? He healed himself. Meanwhile, in Brodeur Insights, Nazgul subordinates decided to take advantage of boss absence and unleash their hate on Troutman at full, that is, with a flamethrower. The snitch from Pakistan wouldn't miss such fun for the world, and comes along. And this is where Rambo gets them. Yes, the producer gathered all executioners and traitors in one room especially for this. Anyways, by the time orcs return to the fortress, everyone is already free, Troutman, and even a crowd of brave Afghans. This whole horde, secretly, well, running standing up, sneaking to the helicopter, and sailing off. Orcs start to shoot from all guns. But Nazgul stands out again. Look at the depth of the implication. Disfigured and wounded Afghan is given a hand by America. And wicked Soviet freak mercilessly kills him. On this background, the helicopter, that's sometimes smoking, and sometimes not, is not even worth discussing. As the final result, saved Mujahideen are going their way, Americans go their way, and the vicious Nazgul, because of his wrath, starts talking in this horrible Romanian accent. And while Troutman is taking refuge as a totally random cave, with the help of totally random rope, John is shooting down a helicopter with his bow no less. Oh yeah, as we can remember from the previous movie, one of these little arrowheads have the power of an intercontinental ballistic missile. By the way, check this out. Rambo is running towards the cave holding his bow, and while he is hanging on a rope, the bow is teleporting to Troutman's hands. Well, what can I say? Very convenient. Meanwhile, John completely loses his self-consciousness, and picks up an invincibility star. Now, even a barrel of napalm can't do anything to him. All the more so, it extinguishes when he approaches. He must have an aura of badness, yeah. Ghouls are coming down the cave after him, and... Remember Games of the Hunter and the Victim from the first movie? Yes, those ones, in a forest. Sheriff and co are shown morons, of course, but Rambo's actions were presented quite nice. Trap, strike, disappear. Quick and swift. Same thing can be even said about the second movie, when vicious, but very stupid Russians appear. Sometimes dumb, but dynamic and spectacular. And what here? Well, dull dancing of idiots. Occasionally lighting his face with a flashlight, Rambo starts to whack red orcs. What can they possibly do about it? Of course, nothing. What can you say, if they are putting the only night vision goggles on the radio man, and sending somewhere isolated, alone? So after getting an arrow in his gut, he'd instantly die. What is this? Our modern analog of Achilles? Anyways, dumb animals continue to die. One of them, probably raised in some shack in Siberia, alongside with wild crocodiles, couldn't avoid getting blown by American roundy shiny thingy. Are you a boy or a girl? Boy. Another guy was filled with lead by his own. Why? Well, because he screamed. What are they, grannies from a guest house or uruk-hais? And the prettiest scene is this one. Saying that look, these disgusting communist pigs have no morals whatsoever. I'll poke your peepers out. Help. Hooligans depriving of sight. After killing almosters, Rambo emerges from the cave. And, at the exit, that exact beast-like freak, allegedly from Spetsnaz, is waiting for him. Yes, despite the fact that he was just laying under a dead body, and there is only one exit out of the cave. But hey, this animal has zero chance of success, of course. Well, of course. Stupid donkey, instead of grabbing the American as hard as he can, and take him to the other side with him, releases Rambo. After a master hit to his snout with his foot, and this huge boar is hanging on a rope, tied to this puny stone just laying on the ground. And so, border is already close, heroes are celebrating victory. But there is a catch. An army of red orcs is teleported from somewhere right in front of them, although with NATO weapons. Do not try to retreat. Oh, right. Don't you understand that there's not enough of you? Surrounding them is out. Hell of a time for humor, John. And it really wasn't a joke. Rambo is going for attack. Ridiculous? Just you wait. After a couple of minutes, Bazmaki with light arms are coming, and smashing armored regiment without losses. Too bad they didn't thought of equestrian Stinger carriers back then. Further, person's brain simply refuses to perceive delirium happening on the screen. Not that Rambo is setting on fire a modern tank with a bottle of gasoline. Not that John is ramming a helicopter on that same tank, without any harm for himself. Everything is ending of course with a stunning victory of VLFS and Rohirrim over forces of darkness. But now Americans are already preparing to go home. And now, they can emphasize with the brave freedom fighters from the roof of a Buddhist temple. While saying goodbye to a young Mujahid who he just met, Rambo can barely hold his tears. Viewers altogether are associating with their hero, some by sobbing, and some by blowing their noses into their shawls. Aw, would you look at this brave, cute, and most importantly, very smart boy, who knows, maybe it is him, who after a few years, gonna blow up priceless statues of Buddha, and cut heads of infidels. Who we are going to kill after 13 years. But, the way noble Rohirrims are going to turn into black bloodsuckers and the main terrorists in the world, is a totally different story. You go to hell, damn American. Rambo 3 conclusions. The first movie was not only a great action movie, but basically an immortal social drama. It was about relationship between war veterans and society that tries to forget everything about this war as soon as possible, and as the result, despises everything related to it. It was about confrontation of a man, who was brought to his edges, and law enforcement, that completely forgot what personal rights and freedoms are. Even in the second movie, where Vietnamese are shown as beastly serial killers, and Russians as Nazis, there are some good things. Because it's not just about how red bloodsuckers are tormenting elf spouse with balls of steel, who after 12 years living in hellish conditions haven't died off for some reason. First of all, it's about how the new American government, while hypocritically putting responsibility for the war on shoulders of the old government, considering their captured compatriots as worthless rotten meat. And also why this is bad. You know there are more people there, find them, or I'll find you. What is Rambo 3? It's propaganda in its purest form. There is nothing in it, except same old slogans. Russians are bloodthirsty Satan's procreation. Mujahideen are noble freedom fighters. And America is paradise on earth, that sends forces of light to save the oppressed and shower gifts on them. And it would be fine, if there wasn't the second movie. It would be just a cheesy movie, but two movies in combination is literally schizophrenia. Go ahead, tell us about Viet Cong insurgents, about occupants who filled Vietnam with napalm, show us feats of Knights of Light in My Lai in detail, demonstrate us cages made of barbed wire, where cows were kept. Tell us how their rights were respected. No, you choose to remain silent, but pouring tons of shit on Soviet Union, this you can. For this you're in the forefront. Pregnant women were cut with bayonets and their babies thrown into the fires. What Rambo 3 contains, except propaganda? Well, basically, nothing. The plot serves only for scene change. Vicious red orcs, noble Afghans, Americans in Shinag armor, and all this circling throughout. Acting? Stallone's acting is still not bad. Richard Crenna, Troutman, is still playing Commis Voyageur. Afghans are playing Afghans. In addition, there is music in the movie. And I can't say anything more about movie's art. Is it a badass action movie? Well, if under the term badass you understand stupid shooting range, with unlimited ammo, in which protagonist is whacking hordes of dumb enemies and enemies' machinery, then yes, Rambo is a very badass movie. But in this case, mine and your understanding of badassness is a little different. The most ridiculous of this situation is that very recently, a video game came out, which was severely criticized by ardent fans of the movie. For what? Well, because it's a stupid shooting range, with unlimited ammo in which protagonist is whacking hordes of dumb enemies and enemies' machinery. If you think about it, this is the best representation ever. But no.
It's not an average game, it's a piece of shit. Stop making these types of lazy cash-ins on life.
So then, double standards exist not only in minds, but also in hearts. If you'd studied your history, you'd know that these people have never given up to anyone. The task of this mission is to capture and kill Ahmad Shah. Bastard. This is it for tonight. This was Red Cynic. Watch good movies, but don't forget about books as well. Just some normal books.